SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man.
Hey, good morning. Welcome. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. A little bit different backdrop today. I've grown quite fond to my bookshelf with a lot of books and football helmets and other knickknacks on it. I'm not sure about this gradient color curtain backdrop.
I think you're going to give
but it is what we have to work with today, Lance.
Yeah, I think you're giving a financial services lecture here in an hour. Coffee is over to your right. Looks like a banking backdrop.
Yeah. Coffee is on the other side of the room, and it's not a Keurig one pod coffee. It's something less than that. But hey, you know what? We'll make do with what we've got. I'm glad to be with you this morning. I'm coming to you from
sunny
Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And it would immediately, if I opened the curtain behind me so you could see behind me, it would immediately put me into the witness protection program, where I go like all completely dark face and all you see are the shadows. So that doesn't really work. It's kind of foggy here this morning, but
rainy here.
Not all too bad. There is ocean beyond where I'm sitting, so it's not too bad.
Okay, so you do have a view.
Yeah,
that's good.
I do. The direct view is like a pool off the balcony, but then kind of off to the right, you can see the beach and the ocean. Big pier that goes out to it. So it's cool. It's cool. Conway, South Carolina is where the NCAA regional is that starts tomorrow. We got college baseball all over the place. So not in the home state, not in the Magnolia State today, but instead in the Palmetto State. And still glad to be with you on Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. The C Spire text line is open to you today. It's open to you always. The number is 601-879-4395. Get the best technology available with C Spire. C Spire, inspired by you. Today in Mississippi, from a weather standpoint, Oxford. We're going to give you Oxford and Hattiesburg the next couple of days, by the way, because a lot going on. A lot of folks focused on those areas with baseball at home. Today, cloudy, scattered thunderstorms developing later in the day, high 81. Winds light and variable, 40% chance of rain. And tomorrow in Oxford, mostly cloudy, then some sunshine in the afternoon with a high of 77, winds out of the northwest at 5 to 10 miles an hour. We are almost to June. High of 77 with a breeze out of the north? That doesn't really happen.
That's an anomaly.
But we will take it. Yes. Hattiesburg, today, thunderstorms likely, especially this morning. High of 84, winds out of the south-southeast, 5 to 10 miles an hour. Chance of rain, 70%. And then tomorrow, partly cloudy in the morning, going to give way to cloudy skies during the afternoon. Stray shower or thunderstorm possible. High of around 85, winds out of the west to northwest, a little brisker, 10 to 15 miles an hour. So, should be good days for baseball in Oxford and in Hattiesburg tomorrow. Macon today, you've got showers and a few thunderstorms likely. High around 80, winds light and variable. Pascagoula, it's going to be raining today. Thunderstorms likely this morning, chance of scattered in the afternoon, 83 for the high. 70% with locally heavy rainfall possible.
Yeah, it looks like
And you said rainy where you are in Jackson?
Yeah, man, it was looks like somebody dumped some green paint on a white canvas and poured some yellow on it. From about the eastern half of Mississippi, you have kind of like a little thumbnail up around Memphis is pushing its way through, but everything's running northeast, and through the morning it looks like it's going to be a little rough in southwest and southeast Mississippi up to about Jackson, and probably south of Tupelo, but it looks like it's blowing through. But yeah, it's plenty of rain, but it doesn't look like there's much behind it, so that's always good.
Okay.
It's moving your way, though. I was just looking at where Conway, South Carolina, and you look pretty good right now. It's going to take a few days to get there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Yeah.
Like Tuesday would be good.
Yes, sir.
On this day in 1736, you remember the name Patrick Henry, part of the American Revolution, a founding father famous for his "Give me liberty or give me death" speech. And big, strong line there. Studley, colony of Virginia, British America. That's where Patrick Henry was born in 1736. Bob Hope was born on this day in 1903, the English-born American actor, comedian, and entertainer, born in London. How about this guy? He doesn't necessarily get all the credit. Name doesn't just roll off the tongue, but he was part of a pair. Tibetan climber Tenzing Norgay was born on this day in 1914. He was the first to reach the summit of Mount Everest in 1953 alongside Edmund Hillary. That's the name that we know. Now, we're not 100% sure that today is Tenzing's birthday. But May 29th is the day he celebrated his birthday because he didn't know the exact date. And he was either born in northeastern Nepal or Tibet. And interestingly enough, the day they summited Everest was on this day as well. So quite the birthday present for Tenzing Norgay.
Do you
John
think
F.
he
Kennedy
may
was
have
born on this
just
day.
Do you think he just
Go ahead,
decided?
sorry.
Yeah. Do you think he just decided to celebrate his birthday on that day since they reached the top of the mountain? Or
I'm kind of assuming there's some coincidence there.
yeah,
Kind of. I don't know. Maybe they planned it that way.
who knows? Yeah, getting to the top of that mountain, that's 20+ thousand feet. Goodness gracious!
Big
You were on the
time
top of the
accomplishment.
world. Well, he was born a climber, apparently. I mean, you're born in the mountains, so that was kind of in his blood, I bet.
JFK, John F. Kennedy, 1917, born on this day, went on to be the 35th President of the United States. Started out as a senator from Massachusetts, born in Brookline, Massachusetts. Al Unser, the American auto racer, born on this day in 1939, four-time winner of the Indianapolis 500. Did it in 1970, 71, 78, then again in 87. American actress Annette Bening is 67 today. You know her from Grifters, Bugsby, American Beauty, The American President.
Mm-hmm.
Good in that one.
That's a real good one.
Mm-hmm. Melissa Etheridge, you can come to her window. Born on this day in 1961. She's 64. Noel Gallagher, 58, the British pop singer and songwriter and guitarist from Oasis.
Yeah, iconic band, too. There's a brother that's in that band as well, I believe. The Gallagher brothers. Yeah.
I believe you on that.
Mm-hmm.
A couple of pretty historic things happened on this day, only because I wanted to say this word. Do we include the fall of Constantinople? On this day in 1453, well, the Byzantines had a good run. Capital of the Eastern Roman Empire, Constantinople, falls to the Ottoman Turks under Mehmed the Conqueror, ending the Byzantine Empire after 1,100 years. They went for a millennia plus.
Yeah, that's...
So, good run. I doubt they were really completely ready to let go, but at some point you got to let go.
Yeah,
and,
and
they did.
When a guy named Mehmed the Conqueror shows up, he's meaning business with the last name the Conqueror.
That's right. That's right.
Hey, today was the day in history where 2017 is where Panamanian military leader Manuel Noriega passed away at 83 years old. I'd forgotten about him. I didn't know he made it to 83, but today is the day he passed away in 2017.
The first dictator that I knew in my life.
Exactly, yeah. He was the big dog with the great complexion.
Well, he and Fidel kind of operating at
I don't even know if it was Fidel a dictator or what. I mean, I don't even know anymore what you'd call him.
Yeah. On this day in 1787, we had the Virginia Plan brought by James Madison and Edmund Randolph, proposed to the Constitutional Convention advocating for a national government with three branches, the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. I wonder what they would think about our three branches of government today. In 1886, American pharmacist John Pemberton began to advertise his patent medicine. It was called Coca-Cola, invented in Atlanta, Georgia. Charles Strife files the patent for the first automatic pop-up toaster on this day in 1919. I got to admit, I'm disappointed about this one. On this day in 1942, Bing Crosby recorded Irving Berlin's song White Christmas with the John Scott Trotter Orchestra and the Ken Darby Singers. It took him just 18 minutes to get the recording. It became the world's best-selling single with an estimated 100 million copies sold. My disappointment, though, is that White Christmas was recorded in May.
Yeah, he's getting a jump start on Christmas.
How did Bing Crosby get into the right mood, into the right frame of mind to do White Christmas in May? That's so disappointing. But I guess they had to have it ready to go for November, December.
From the
Inside track on Mississippi politics. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
Glad to be with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday morning, the 29th day of the month of May. C Spire text line is open at 601-879-4395. Love for you to join the conversation, 601-879-4395. Your team has you covered on the field. C Spire has you covered everywhere else with the best technology for homework and on the go. Backed by local 24/7 support. Learn more at cspire.com. C Spire, inspired by you. Drama yesterday in the Mississippi House of Representatives. I don't feel like that can just be a news headline, though. I think we've got to dive into that a little bit deeper. Anytime you have to bring out what is referred to as the demon chipmunk, we need to spend a little more time on that. But suffice it to say, the House of Representatives gavelled in for the first day of the special session yesterday, and they gavelled in for the second day of the special session last night. When the clock struck midnight, and the calendar turned to the 29th. By statute, they had to gavel in for a second day. And Jason White appeared none too pleased to be doing that. We'll give you the details coming up. On the Senate side, one of Mississippi's longest-tenured lawmakers announced that this is it. 2025 legislative cycle is his last. 92-year-old State Senator David Jordan, Democrat from Greenwood, has spent the last 33 years representing District 24, encompasses parts of LaFleur, Panola, and Tallahatchie counties. As lawmakers reconvene at the beginning of the special session, Georgia's colleagues celebrated with service of more than 3 decades with Senate Resolution 1. Which read in part, we hereby recognize and commend the outstanding leadership of District 25 State Senator. Wait, was that a typo? Was it District 24 or 25? Anyway, State Senator David L. Jordan for his distinguished service in the Mississippi Senate on the occasion of his retirement, and extend to Senator Jordan and his family the best wishes of the Senate for future success. Undergraduate degree from Delta State, a master's degree from the University of Wyoming. Moved into a political career after spending 30 years as a public school teacher in Mississippi. It is District 24. A special election will be required to fill Jordan's District 24 seat. So, congratulations on the retirement, sir. That's fantastic. The Greenville community is mourning the passing of a local football standout, Alex Foster, discovered deceased on Tuesday night. Former top 50 high school defensive line prospect, Greenville St. Joe product, was confirmed to have lost his life. Now, details still emerging, still a little sketchy, but apparently a shooting death in which he was shot. He was playing football at Baylor University in Waco, Texas, but back home for this summer. Redshirted a year ago, expected to be back. Man, just awful. The football player, the second confirmed death of a teenager in Greenville this week. On Sunday, you had 16-year-old Cody Botcher fatally shot by someone opening fire into a vehicle in which he was a passenger. In recent days, Greenville police have come out and tried to talk to the community to help authorities curb gang violence and reckless behavior by bad actors with firearms. What a tragic story. Don't know the details, right? I have no idea if Alex Foster was in a place he shouldn't have been, if he was minding his own business, whatever. But whatever the circumstances, a young man, in college on a football scholarship and just the entire world in front of him, and just like that, gone from us. Horrible. Horrible. A new study says Mississippi is one of the most sought-after states in America. We knew that. Governor Tate Reeves told us that yesterday. Said one of the issues that he has with some of his constituents is when he says we're the best kept secret in the country, there's some people that are like, hey, could you not say that so loud? Could you keep it a secret? U.S. News & World Report replaced Mississippi at number 10 on its list with the most people considering calling it home. The publication tracked migration interest or curiosity about living in certain states through internet searches made during the first quarter of 2025. Common themes throughout the top of the list are states that have coastlines, mountains, or are in the south where the cost of living is sometimes lower and the weather is warmer. Top 10 states of relocation interest: South Carolina, Tennessee, Delaware, North Carolina, Maine, Idaho, West Virginia, Alabama, Arkansas, and Mississippi. So the Southeastern Conference dominating once again. U.S. News & World Report pointed to the diverse music scene. Is that why people are moving here?
Oh, of course, yeah. They come here for the music. I wonder, what do people move
does Apple Music not work in Wyoming?
Well, what is the draw to Delaware? Like, you open a limited liability company? What's going on up there? I'm curious.
And but nobody's doing that anymore.
No, but
their court system was so screwy, all the LLCs started leaving.
See ya. Maine, I can understand Maine. You're up there close to Canada. You got some folks that want to go looking at bears or something. I don't know, but Delaware.
We got some lighthouses.
Yeah, lighthouses and crabbing and all that good stuff. But, yeah, Delaware, I'm not sure about that.
Supposedly when the leaves change colors in Maine, it's really pretty.
That's what they say, yeah.
That's what I've been told.
Mm-hmm. I've always wanted to visit Maine.
Home of L.L. Bean, right?
Yeah, and The Perfect Storm, too. The movie. I've always wanted to go up there and visit. It looks amazing, honestly. It's not like a place really you go take the bathing suit out or anything, but totally different coastline. I've never seen a coastline like that. It's like the Pacific Northwest. I've been to Seattle and a little bit into Bellingham. Beautiful, but it's nothing like the Northeast. It's just rocky and gray and cold, crab.
Sure.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see.
Some Mississippi State fans about our age said you can take Maine and shove it.
Yeah, they love Maine, the Bears.
Just blow them off the map.
Back in the day, I remember
Keep those black bears away.
It was
a month into negotiations between Paramount Global and President Trump to settle his lawsuit against CBS News. The parties remain far apart. In recent days, Paramount has offered $15 million to settle. According to people familiar with the situation, Trump's team wants more than $25 million to settle. This case is basically about fake news. Trump's team has threatened another lawsuit against CBS related to alleged bias of its news coverage, according to people who are a part of this. Wednesday's the deadline for Trump to respond to Paramount's motion to dismiss the lawsuit. It alleges that the network deceitfully edited a 60 Minutes interview with Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris to make her sound better, and seeks $20 billion in damages. Now, here's the thing. There's no denying that they edited the interview. The tape has been released. So that's part of the reason that CBS and its parent company are willing to settle. Now, the news team at CBS is furious about the settlement talks, and even more furious about the fact that they might have to publicly apologize to Donald Trump, which is what he really wants. Says he wants $25 million and an apology. So why is CBS going down this road? Well, Sherry Redstone is the largest shareholder at Paramount, and Skydance Media is trying to merge with Paramount. And it will be a windfall for her. And Sherry Redstone has simply said, by the way, she's recused herself from the negotiations. Let somebody else handle it, because all I want is my money. She wants her money from the merger that would put billions in her pocket. And she says, look, big companies settle lawsuits all the time. Write the check so we can move on, so I can be rich, more rich than I already am. CBS has had its CEO, CBS News, Wendy McMahon. She's left the network. The guy that was running 60 Minutes left a little while ago. I can't do my job. We used to hold the news. We used to keep the news in high esteem. Meanwhile, Scott Pelley spoke at Wake Forest graduation last week. Boy, did you see that?
That was
Scott
winner.
Pelley, the longtime newsman at 60 Minutes. It was 30 minutes of railing on Donald Trump at a Wake Forest commencement. Boy, that'll inspire him to go out into the world and get it done, Scott. Gaslighting. We'll be right back.
From the Mississippi in the know, one morning at a time. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi.
So, Lance, pretty easy travel day yesterday.
Good.
Left Memphis just a little before 2.
I was a little worried
Connected
about
in
you that
Charlotte.
weather.
Oh, no, it was all good. All good. Connected in Charlotte, less than half an hour to sit in the airport. Got into Myrtle Beach. Sun was still out. Beautiful evening. Got checked into the hotel. It took a little while. And kind of settled, doing a little bit of work, trying to get ready for the show this morning, looking at some baseball stuff. And I realized I hadn't had dinner. Needed something to eat. And I'd kind of let it get late. I mean, it was closing in on, 9:30, 10 o'clock here. A little tired. Not super motivated. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do fast food thing. I'll jump in the car, whatever's closest. I'll just grab a burger or whatever. And as I was turning to go to what I thought was the area where the fast food restaurants were in Myrtle Beach, what did I see? I saw that big sign with the yellow squares on it, the black writing, said Waffle House.
Ooh.
And I said, boom, that's it. Just
where I'm
whipped
going,
straight into the parking lot. And I feel like every Waffle House in America has kind of the same vibe in it, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a little bit of energy in Waffle House, and it doesn't really matter what the time is. And most of the people working there are generally pleasant, but they're kind of smiling through something. Like they'd probably rather not be there, but they are. But they're making the best of it.
I love it when you get the one that she's like, calls you honey and baby and all that.
Yeah, good morning.
You always
Hey,
get one
sweetheart, how are you tonight? So good to see. Like, and there's some that are genuinely happy to be there.
Great, to me, I'm a Waffle House person.
Not in Myrtle Beach.
Not the same there, huh?
Brother, this was the saddest Waffle House I've ever been in.
Oh.
It was clean enough.
Mm-hmm.
I was the only customer. Now, I've been in Waffle Houses where I was one of 2 or 3, 4 customers, kind of scattered out, and everybody's kind of moving slow. But usually that's at like 1 or 2 in the morning. Nope, this was at 9 o'clock. Only customer in the place. 3 employees there. We got the cook and 2 servers. And I had this thought when I walked in. I was like, where do I sit? This is a big decision. Because there are only 2 of them. There's nobody else to tip anybody. And depending on where I sit,
exactly,
one of them is left with nothing.
Well, and they may have been in that mode, too, that night. Like, well, you take it. Just one customer.
That's possible.
That's possible. That.
So I sit down, and she kind of ambles over and says, drink. I was like, yes, please. Coffee and water would be great. Thanks. And then she just walks off. Ambles around, brings back coffee and water. And then she pulls out her order pad to write down my order. And she never speaks. Like, I was supposed to know what the next step to happen was. I'll just give you my order.
Must have been something in the air. I had that a couple of days ago at my favorite Mexican restaurant, and I sat down and, waiting for the, I got the kind of like blank stare, and I was, well, look, if you don't want to take my order right now, I can go to one of the other 40 Mexican places. And he was like, oh, no. So I pay, I ate my food and everything. And I told myself, I'm not, there's so many choices. I'm not coming back to this. I don't care if it's my favorite, but one time, that's all it takes.
Oh, I'd go back today. I would go back to Waffle House right now.
I'd go to it. Yeah. I love Waffle House.
Exact same one right now. I'm just giving them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it was just a bad day. Bad
day, yeah.
Yeah, so, pretty all-star waffle, over medium, crispy bacon, grits, toast, whatever.
As long as the food was on, yeah.
Yeah, it was fine. Food was fine. Same as always. And I go to pay, and she kind of ambles up to the register. I decided I'm going to make some small talk. I'm going to force her to talk. I'm just like, man, slow night tonight. Is it going to get busy later? No, going to be slow. It was slow last night. All right. Thank you, sweetheart.
All right, see you.
Appreciate it. Here's sign the check. Here's the tip. Get out. I mean, what?
A very stoic personality, huh?
Yeah, it was something last night. A little more excitement in Oklahoma City as Shea Gilgeous-Alexander scored 34, and OKC routed Minnesota 129-94 to win the Western Conference Finals 4-1. Headed to the finals for the first time since 2012. Young star Chet Holmgren had 22, 7 rebounds, 3 blocks. Jalen Williams had 19. That's a fan base that remember back in 2016 they suffered through the loss of Kevin Durant. And they kind of bottomed out as a franchise, but Seller have built it all the way back. And now they'll face either the Pacers or the Knicks in the finals. Indiana up 3-1 on New York. They're headed back to NYC tonight at the Garden. And Oklahoma City going to have home court advantage due to the best record in the NBA this year. The Women's College World Series begins today. 8-team field for the Women's College World Series in Oklahoma City starting tonight. When the 64-team field was set, the SEC had 9 regional hosts and 14 teams in the tournament, the most for a single conference in tournament history. By the way, if you're keeping score at home, that is a record for teams from a single conference in the NCAA men's basketball tournament, the women's softball tournament, and the men's baseball tournament. All in one academic year. Pretty good stuff.
Yeah.
In Oklahoma City, the conference breakdown, 5 SEC schools, Oklahoma, Florida, Texas, Tennessee, and Ole Miss. 2 from the Big Ten, UCLA and Oregon, because nothing says the Big Ten quite like UCLA and Oregon. A year ago, that would have been 2 from the Pac-12, and then 1 from the Big 12 in Texas Tech, who paid reportedly $1 million for their star pitcher who left Oklahoma, or was it Stanford? Maybe she left Stanford. Anyway, starring now for Tennessee Tech. So, the games today. Noon today, Eastern Time, 11 o'clock Central on ESPN. You got Texas and Florida. So, one of the SEC teams will immediately fall into the loser's bracket. 1:30 this afternoon, another SEC team will immediately fall into the loser's bracket. Tennessee and Oklahoma matching up. Ole Miss and Texas Tech coming your way at 6 tonight on ESPN2. And then the 2 Big Ten teams will face off in the nightcap. Oregon and UCLA, that is at 8:30 tonight, also on ESPN2.
Man.
Will you watch some of that?
Probably, yeah. I mean, if I remember to turn it on. I know that the Earnhardt deal drops today, the second 2 of the Amazon Prime series. I was kind of turned it on the other night, and I was like, "Oh man, this is good."
We wouldn't want live sports to get in the
of course, I can't watch streaming anytime, So, but no, I'll tune in. I'll tune in. I was just amazed though, as you were talking about the Big 12. It just always blows my mind. You got West Virginia, Utah, Central Florida, Colorado, Arizona. I mean, come on. That's just a mixed bag.
And somehow that doesn't feel as weird to me, Lance, as the ACC having Stanford and Cal.
I mean, isn't it crazy? I mean, you do this every weekend as far as dealing with college sports. Is there going to be a mix-up, Richard? Is there going to be a change-up where things come back? Or is there just going to be one big super conference, do you think, one day?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But along those lines, LSU's Brian Kelly said yesterday that the SEC coaches favor adding one conference game, going to 9, and adding a non-conference game against a Big Ten opponent.
Okay.
Kelly said, we want to compete against the Big Ten. Look, the Big Ten right now holds it on the SEC. They won the last 2 national championships. That's the reality of it. We want to get challenged in that regard, and we'd like to be able to get that done. That's up to our commissioner and the ADs to see if that can happen or not, but that's the wish of the room.
Was that the biggest news out of Destin yesterday? Was the addition or the suggestion of adding one and then going with the Big Ten opponent?
I guess.
Yeah, that's the big stuff.
It's like if we could get back to talking about actual games, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But man, I've talked to people who used to kind of enjoy those meetings that say, pit in my stomach when I walk in the room. Nothing fun about it anymore.
There's so many big things to solve that I can't imagine.
Hey, by the way, Greg Sankey said not sure if he believes that's the right way to go. He said there are 3 ways that a scheduling partnership can work. Stay out of it and let it happen naturally, like it does now through athletic directors. Try to facilitate more and agree to mandate to play. He said that third one's incredibly difficult, so I understand the position. Kelly says the coaches made their voices clear with what they want. Arkansas coach Sam Pittman said, you got to get a partner who says we're in for that too. He says the SEC wants us to go to 9 conference games, so how are we going to do it? We're going to go to 9 playing ourselves and maybe invite another conference to play us on a given weekend? So we will see. NCAA baseball regionals start tomorrow. Your Mississippi Lottery update coming up next.
From the Venable.
Know where the news is going next. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
What's today? Thursday morning. Thursday morning, May the 29th. I'm Richard Cross. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi, alongside Lance Tolbert. Lance, I got to be honest with you. Man, the time is really messing with my head.
You got that
really
extra,
messing with my head.
Added that hour.
Because we do this. Yeah, I mean, we do this from 6 to 9 every morning, and so I'm used to looking up, and, okay, I know what's coming up at 7:20, but I'm looking up and I'm seeing it, okay, it's 7:54 right now on my clock. I'm like, hold on, 7
You're
to 10,
almost done.
6 to 9. This is, anyway, it's a kind of playing with my head a little bit.
Well, we did have a great text. Like, how can you do a Mississippi talk radio show from South Carolina, kind of joking around, but that is one of the challenges right there, the extra hour.
It is, yeah, it is, but technology makes the world a much smaller place. And it's really cool, honestly, that, I mean, I know that I have colleagues at this company who love to make fun of me being in different places and taking time off and not working and all those things. But the truth of the matter is, I don't like to miss work.
I hear you.
I don't like to miss the show. I feel like I'm missing out. I feel like I get behind on stuff that's going on, and that can kind of make it tough. So it's really, really cool that I'm able to do this
I love it.
A long way from home.
I'm a fan. I mean, I have a fear of missing out too. I hate missing work. I love all the shows that they allow me to work on, and I'm kind of like you. I hate missing anything. I feel like it just stacks up, and then you got to look back and go, man, I missed all that fun stuff. Goodness. So yeah, technology makes it so much better. I'm happy that you get to do it at your convenience. It makes it so much more fun to know that you got your 4 days, and wherever you are, we can bring the news to you. And so it does add that continuity.
Make that baby work. Lotto America, no jackpot winner. Estimated jackpot, $37,220,000 for Saturday night's drawing. Cash value of $16.36. Wednesday night's numbers, 4, 6, 8, 33, 35. The Star Ball 5, and the All-Star bonus multiplier 2. You know what else I'm bummed out about? I still hadn't won the Powerball.
Yeah.
No jackpot winner on Wednesday night.
It's a little cheap
which
for you.
Which means it grows $207 million for Saturday night, May 31st. $91 million is what you'd put in your pocket. That's the estimated cash value, at least before taxes. Wednesday night, 23, 27, 32, 35, 39. The Powerball was 11. The Power Play multiplier was 2.
Well, double play numbers from Wednesday, the 28th, 14, 30, 41, 48, 69, Powerball of 12. Mega Millions, there's no jackpot winner yet, so you're safe. Estimated jackpot for the Friday drawing, which would be May the 30th, $189 million. Estimated cash value, $82.7 million. Tuesday's numbers, 6, 28, 34, 48, 62, Mega Ball of 9.
No jackpot winner on the Mississippi Match 5, although these numbers feel like they were infinitely winning.
Yes. I like all of them.
This was a combination that could have put $800,000 plus in somebody's pocket. 4, 6, 8, 10, 23.
Those are good ones. Cash 3, Cash 3, $500 Wednesday midday numbers, 261. Evening, 523. Cash 4, $5,000 midday drawing, 2204. Evening number 0287. Fireball of 3 and a cash pop of 11 in the midday. In the evening, Fireball of 5 with a cash pop of 8.
If somebody wins that Mississippi Match 5 tonight at $881,000, it would be the second largest jackpot ever won in the game. It's an exclusive in-state draw game with a rolling jackpot that increases every night until there is a winner, and then it resets to $50,000. This thing's gone from $50,000 to $881,000. Tickets are $2 per play. Drawings are held each evening at 9:30. Match your 5 numbers to the 5 numbers drawn, and you could be the next big winner. Get your ticket today at any Mississippi lottery retailer. And later today, you'll find out about the winners of the final Pink Panther Diamond Tripler bonus promotion drawing. Supersized bonus promotional drawing includes all previous non-winning entries. Up for grabs, $25, $15, and $10,000 prizes, plus 5 $100 debit gift cards. Go to mslottery.com to become a lottery insider and to learn more. Let's see here. On a $1 moolah scratch-off, a Gulfport man won the top prize of $5,000 on a ticket from Circle K store in Gulfport. There's one top prize remaining there. Tupelo man won $200,000 on a ticket from Sprint Mart in Tupelo. That was on a $10 50 times the money scratch-off. And there's one top prize remaining for that drawing as well. Check them out. Mississippi Lottery, mslottery.com. 8 o'clock hour. Wait. No, that's here where I am. 7 o'clock hour coming up next. We'll be joined by former Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant and a whole lot more.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
No filibuster. Just everything you need to know to start your day smarter. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
This hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you are not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services, plus a custom plan that fits you. Call today, 601-206-7966, or go to MWGEmployerServices.com. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. We are glad to be with you on this Thursday morning as we roll into the 7 o'clock hour. It was pretty, I'm going to use this word affectionately. It was pretty boring in the Senate yesterday. They came in and they honored one of their members, as we talked about in our news headlines earlier, the retirement of a long-serving member, Senator David Jordan of Greenwood. And then they got to business, and they passed the budget bill, no drama, just move on, move on. A little bit different in the House. We talked earlier in the week about the fact that House Democrats and some Senate Democrats are exceedingly frustrated with being shut out of the budget process. That Republican lawmakers went off in a dark, smoky room and they put the budget together, and now they're just giving it to us and saying, vote on it. And they want to be part of the process, and so what do? Well, really, the only thing they can do, the only real recourse that Democrats have in this scenario is to filibuster. And so filibuster they did. And here's how they did it. Any representative has the option to request that a bill be read out loud before it begins, but before it's voted on. You can, according to Jason White, we can read the bill, we can debate the bill, and so reading system in the House, which has the nickname Demon Chipmunk. And the reason it has that is because they put it into the super fast speed. Boy, that is a tough frozen screen on the old video stream there. Sorry about that. If you're watching on SuperTalk TV, I understand.
Yeah, you got a little max headroom action. Yeah, you got a little max headroom action going, as Tim said. Yeah, it sounds very outer spacey.
I can lower it for you a little bit.
Oh, you're fine.
I might refresh that, so it may freeze up on you just
it wasn't freezing on my end,
though,
just so you know.
Better. There we go. Yeah. Okay, well, that's good enough. Maybe it's just on my end. So you've got super speed reading it. Being enacted, they call it a demon chipmunk. Problem is that while the bill was being read, certain Democrats were trying to debate it as well. And Jason White, at one point, threatened to have a Democrat member removed from the chamber and refused to allow debate on the budget bills because they were being read aloud. And that made the Democrats even madder. At one point, Jason White told Representative Zacchaeus Summers of Jackson, "Lady, you are not recognized. Lady, we will maintain order or you will be removed from the room." The demon chipmunk droned on into Wednesday night and ultimately into Thursday morning, which I told you earlier meant they had to start a new session day. And so Jason White dropped the gavel and said we begin day 2 of the special session. They finally adjourned late at night after our Senate adjourned until Thursday. The standoff unfolded after lawmakers, of course, failed to pass the state budget during the 2025 regular session. Governor Tate Reeves called them back into session. Zacchaeus said to Speaker of the House, "Mr. Speaker, why are you treating members like this?" And he responded that he was within his right and that he would allow bills to either be read or debated, not both. She approached the dais and the two argued, and he told her that she was entitled to her opinion. And then Zacchaeus hours later decided to attempt to quote Bible scripture, at which point White threatened to remove her from the chamber. What a mess. Yeah. What a mess. This is a case of hurt feelings and nothing more. Democrats did not delay the passage of the budget, but they did vote against some of the bills, or voted present as a bit of a protest. The Minority Leader Derek Simmons from Greenville, said, "Our votes are a statement, a principled stand for a better process. We remain committed to working in good faith with our colleagues across the aisle, but we will continue to speak out and act when the process fails and the people we are elected to fails the people we are elected to serve." For his part, Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann said, "I think the budget is prudent and conservative. Most agencies in the proposed budget are getting the same amount of money they were getting a year ago." Senator David Blunt did push back and say that universities have been working under a 4-year plan for construction projects and maintenance and that no money is being allocated for that. Falls into the special project piece, right? By the fact that they're not funding any of the special projects or the district projects, colleges and universities fall under that. And so there's pretty significant projects that were on the books to begin in Hattiesburg and Oxford and in Starkville in particular, and those projects are now on hold for now. What's in the budget? A nearly 7% increase for Medicaid, $969.9 million of the $7 billion budget is allocated for Medicaid. K through 12 education is getting $3.34 billion. That's actually 0.4 of a point of a decrease, primarily because of enrollment, but also because there's some money that was paid a year ago that was overpaid, and so they have funded that at the level at which they had previously agreed to fund it. Colleges and universities getting $838.4 million. That's a 0.4 of a point decrease. Community colleges just shy of $300 million, about 0.2 of a point or 20 basis points of an increase. And the Department of Corrections is getting a 4.4% increase at $438.2 million. The overall budget is increasing by 1.5%, 1.57%, and it's a $7.135 billion budget for the state of Mississippi. Ultimately, this is going to be approved. Senate has sent their approval to the House. The House, once they approve it, will have to send it to the Senate. Everybody will sign off on it. And then all of our legislators will go home. And barring another special session being called by the governor, which could happen, and Tate Reeves yesterday that he could call another session if the need arose, that would likely be for an economic development project. That has happened in the past, and that has been very, very narrow in scope in the way that Tate Reeves has called those. But that's where we stand at this point. You knew there was going to be something, right, Lance?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, but, they should have had an ice cream social like right after it or something just to kind of smooth it back over. But, yeah, we could tell with Jason White the other day that it was going to be – there was a little bit of a worry about how smoothly this was going to go, given that you kind of had it figured out and you did not need the Democrats' support to get this bill passed. So, yeah, I was really anxious to see how this was going to boil down as we got into session here. And it got heated, as we probably thought, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to get to the finish line. They are. And they're going to get the budget passed, and they're going to do it well before the end of the budget year, which is June 30th, so a little more than a month from now. But a little bit of theater in the Capitol yesterday. Phil Bryant is going to join us in our next segment. He, of course, is the former governor here in the state of Mississippi, but he also has a new role. He has been appointed vice chair of the FEMA Review Council. You remember his name came up a few weeks ago as being appointed to this council. It was only recently that he was appointed vice chair of this council. We'll talk with him about that role and what the Review Council is working on. There has been lots of people that have pointed to, FEMA's going to go away. That does not appear to be the case right now. So we'll get into all of that with Phil Bryant coming up in just a little while. I think former Governor Bryant has had a chance to spend a little bit of time with Elon Musk. Elon Musk's tenure as the special government employee running Doge has come to an end, and disillusionment appears to be part of the takeaway for Elon Musk. I don't think, Elon seemed to thrive on the energy of campaign season. But the drudgery of actually governing does not appear to be Elon Musk's favorite task. And I think he was really frustrated. It appears as if he was really frustrated with the glacial pace at which Congress moves at the federal level. Phil Bryant joins us coming up next. A little bit later in the show, we'll also visit with Sean Tindell and Attorney General Lynn Fitch. This is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk.
From the Venable Glass Traffic Center, I'm Patty Steele. Venable Glass with 2 locations in Richland on 51 North and Brandon at 209 Woodgate Drive, Cross Gates. Call 601-605-4443 for all of your glass needs. Traffic moving smoothly right now. We are all clear with no accidents or major congestion. Traffic brought to you by River Trust Federal Credit Union. Call and take advantage of their limited time share certificate special, a 4.22% annual percentage yield on 30 and 60 months. Federally insured by the NCUA.
For the first time ever, Carter Jewelers is allowing you to determine the price. In regard to the remaining jewelry purchased from the Fab Terror bankruptcy, we will be selling this jewelry to a New York liquidator very soon. Before we sell to the liquidators, I am inviting you to come to Carter Jewelers and make an offer on any piece of this jewelry for whatever price you are willing to pay. So if the price you've offered is more than what we expect to get from the liquidation company, and it makes sense, we'll sell it to you. There's almost 1,000 pieces of this Terra jewelry to choose from, and the sale prices we have on it is already a steal. Each piece of this jewelry is gorgeous and beautifully made. So you determine the price sale at Carter Jewelers is going to be on for just a little while. Interest-free and no credit check financing is available, and trade-ins are welcome. Established in 1849 downtown Jackson on High Street, 2 blocks from the Capitol and Pemberton Plaza in Vicksburg. Shop now while we still have this massive selection at Carter Jewelers.
As a parent, nothing feels harder than seeing your child struggle. Whether it's anxiety or challenges at school, the worry can be overwhelming. That's why TrustCare's new mental health and wellness program offers specialized care designed for children and teens. From expert evaluations to medication management, we aim to give your family the support you deserve. Finding the right care for your child has never been easier. Visit trustcarehealth.com/mental health to learn more. TrustCare. Your mind matters here.
For all your glass needs, call Venable Glass Services. Glass Networks, they're going to try and steer you to use their own glass shop. Well, you can tell your insurance you want to use Venable Glass, and there'll be no additional cost to them to get the highest quality glass. Venable Glass is locally owned and operated, and they do windshield replacement and rock repair right there in their shops, or they'll even come to you in the Tri-County area for free. That's right, free mobile service. At Venable Glass, they also do frameless and frame shower doors, mirrors cut to size and installed, picture frame glass, tables, desktops, insulated glass, plexiglass, commercial storefronts, and heavy equipment glass. Venable Glass. They'll come out and give you a free estimate. They want to work hard for your business. Venable Glass. Open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and on Saturday, 8 to noon. Hey, there's 2 locations too, in Ridgeland at 660 Highway 51 North and Brandon at 209 Woodgate Drive South in Cross Gates. Check them out on the web at venableglass.com. Remember, for all your glass needs, call Venable Glass Services, 601-605-4443.
This is Brian Haydad with Sports Talk Mississippi, the Magnolia State's #1 sports show. Get the show wherever you get your podcast.
Yourself a cup of coffee and get the Magnolia State's most important news of the day. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
I try to call you, but on the midnight watch I realize why twice you ran away. Think about how many times I had.
Welcome again. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. Glad to have you along for the ride, and a reminder that you can join the conversation via the ceasefire text line, 601-879-395. Ready for your winning strategy? Here it is. Join ceasefire. All the technology and support you need to succeed at work, at home, and everywhere else. Visit ceasefire.com today. Ceasefire, inspired by you. Excited to welcome my first guest this morning, former Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant. He joins us. He is currently vice chair of the FEMA Review Council. He is working from home some days. He is working from Washington, D.C. some days. He is in his law office some days as well. Good morning, Governor Bryant.
Good morning, Richard. Yeah, I'm in the Allen community today, the place I love the best, down here in Copiah County off Highway 28.
That's a good spot. I know it's a place that you like to be. Are your days a little less busy than they were when you were residing in the governor's mansion?
Absolutely. There's just nothing that can compare to being governor. That's a 24/7. I remember when I was lieutenant governor, Haley Barber was telling me how busy the job was. And I said, Governor, I'm lieutenant governor and I'm teaching school at Mississippi College at a college level. I'm pretty busy. Got 2 children. He said, oh, no, you don't understand. This game's a lot faster. And he was absolutely right. I used to say Eli Manning, they asked Eli when Eli went from the college to the pros, what was the difference? He said the game's so much faster. That was the way it was going from lieutenant governor to governor. So, life is good. I'm back and forth to Washington, D.C. more than I actually want to be. But when this president calls and you feel like, as I do, as someone that loves public service, that it's the right thing for you to do, then you go.
I am curious, watching the Capitol yesterday, was there any part of the legislative process that you missed? I mean, state auditor and then lieutenant governor and then governor. Things went pretty smoothly in the Senate, a little bit different in the House yesterday. Is that a process that you miss?
Not at all. Not at all. I miss the people. I've still got a lot of great friends there, but that can be a difficult day for a presiding officer. I presided over the Mississippi Senate for 4 years as lieutenant governor. We had to read some bills, not many. I had a really good working relationship with all. A lot of people don't remember, Richard, when I came in, I think it was 2008 as lieutenant governor, I had a majority of Democrats in the Mississippi Senate. And as a sitting Republican lieutenant governor, that was some challenging, but never anything that we couldn't work through and got a lot done. So I could feel the speaker's frustration. That's just not the way to preside, having to read bills, but I don't miss that at all. And I see much of it now occurring in Congress, in the United States Congress, so not productive for the American people.
I got one more for you. To your new role, there were some Democrats that complained about being kind of shut out of the budget process. Republican supermajority, in both the House and the Senate. Is that a reasonable complaint from Democrats that, like, hey, we know that you're going to pass the budget bill, but we would like to at least have a seat at the table? Is that reasonable, or is that just politics?
It's politics. They have members on the Appropriations Committee, Democratic members on the Appropriations Committee. When those committees meet, when they review the bill, they have the opportunity in committee to ask those questions. That's when all of the sorting out begins in those subcommittees and in committees and appropriations. So by the time they get to the floor, the bill has been presented in committee. They've had an opportunity to ask any questions, make amendments. You can offer amendments in subcommittees and in committees. So this is just a show by the Democratic Party that is in worse condition in Mississippi than it is on a national level, if that's possible. So, look, we always wanted to be transparent. When I was governor and presiding officer, nothing to hide there. The budget is what the budget is. They always want more. They just want you to put more money in, more for these projects, more to grow government. The typical ask, unfortunately, of the Democratic Party is for more taxpayers' money. Our job is to spend only that is necessary to affect the function of government. That's what Republicans want to do. And so I don't miss that process at all. Got a lot of good friends on both sides of that. If the Democratic Party believes that was the only way they could gain relevancy, then I don't hold that against them. We've got the reading machine, the chipmunk there, and let her roll.
There's been some frustration from lawmakers on both sides of the aisle that maybe they didn't get the budget bill as soon as they would have liked to be able to really read it and go through it, and people have voiced concern about that. Is that uncommon? Is that something that is should be happening where it's available to legislators sooner, or is that simply kind of how the process works?
Well, if I remember this correctly, Richard, and I'm not watching it as close as I once was, but
right.
All of this has been debated before. If you remember, the House and the Senate had long hours of debate over the budget. There were meetings on both ends of the hall, as we would say. So this entire budget process has been discussed for the past 30 or 45 days in detail. Now, I don't know who was in the rooms, but there's no surprise that you're going to have a budget. There's no surprise in categories of what that budget might look like. Again, you can position yourself to gain attention, or you can try to work within the process. And I would hope that leadership went to the lieutenant governor and speaker's office and said, we'd like to know more. We'd like to get involved. That is the way I tried to work when I was lieutenant governor. We had nothing to hide. Obviously, the budget is the taxpayers' dollars, and it's going to be made public. But this debate's been going on for months and months now over the budget. And so now, all of a sudden, no one's heard about it. I don't want to get interjected in the details of it, but I cannot help but believe that the speaker and the lieutenant governor have open doors to their membership who want to come and ask questions.
Visiting with former Lieutenant Governor and Governor Phil Bryant. He is now Vice Chair of the FEMA Review Council. Since Donald Trump was appointed president, he has said that FEMA needs to operate more efficiently. It needs to be more effective for Americans who are affected by disasters. Certainly we can talk about some of the specific issues, but this FEMA council that you were appointed to and then made vice chair of, what is the charge that has been given to you and to your colleagues on the council from the president?
Let me read it directly. So this is from the presidential action, the executive order, January 24, 2025, the federal response to Hurricane Helene. And if you remember, the president was there on the ground in North Carolina. He was greatly disappointed about what he saw, and that was the spark, I think, that lit the fire in him to do something about what he thought was the ineffectiveness of FEMA. The EO says the federal response to Hurricane Helene and other recent disasters demonstrate the need to drastically improve the Federal Emergency Management Agency's efficacy, priorities, and competency. That's it, including evaluating whether FEMA's bureaucracy in disaster responses ultimately harm the agency's ability to successfully respond. That is what he wants. He wants us to look into not only FEMA today, but where FEMA came from. Very interesting history created by an executive order by Jimmy Carter. But how has it evolved? And is the bureaucracy, which now out of the 18,000 employees is a large percent, great percent of that is bureaucracy. And he wants us to find out, is that bureaucracy hindering what he sees as the less than stellar response in recent storms? So how can we improve FEMA? How can we make the efficacy a priority within the federal government? How can we go to states and serve them at the time of their need, when their people are having their worst day? And how can we do that more efficiently, more effectively, and honestly, at a less cost when you parse down the bureaucracy involved in this entire process? So that began January 24th and continues.
We're going to talk more about this with Governor Phil Bryant in just a couple of minutes. You and I spoke briefly yesterday afternoon, and I was struck by the number of employees you said that work for 18,000 employees with the Federal Emergency Management Association, or agency rather, not association. We'll talk more about that when we come back. Governor Phil Bryant is my guest. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. This segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Shaping Mississippi politics each morning. Mornings with Richard Cross. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Back with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Governor Bryant's too nice to say anything. I will tell you, we are aware that there have been some connection issues. My apologies for that. Trying to do the best that we can. But we continue our conversation with Governor Phil Bryant, who has recently been appointed vice chair of the FEMA Review Council. I don't know that Google, Governor Bryant, is always the most accurate, but I just did a quick search at the average employee salary is at FEMA. It's about $63,000. That's kind of, a range from 13 to well up over 100 average salary. And at 18,000 employees, that's $1.1 billion. Do we need that many people working at FEMA?
Absolutely not. And here's even the more disturbing part of that, Richard. In the last 4 years, FEMA headquarters, located in the district in downtown Washington, D.C., has tripled in its size. Over 300% growth in the administrative offices of downtown Washington, D.C., FEMA. And so those 18,000 employees, so many of them are in the nation's capital. Now, last time I checked, there hadn't been a hurricane in the nation's capital, I think, since Andy Jackson was maybe president. So we don't need, obviously, all of those individuals there huddled together, making those salaries in Washington, D.C. So there's a decentralization. What if we took some of those? There's 10 different regions in FEMA, and either we downsize that agency, and we've been talking with DOJ. I had a long conversation, actually, a Zoom meeting yesterday with the acting director of FEMA, David Richardson, who is a lieutenant colonel, retired lieutenant colonel from the Marines. Now, let me tell you, Colonel Richardson is charging this hill. He is going to get it done. He's working just now, every day, and I think we'll see in the next few days a public display of the hurricane plan, which has been, in effect, been working with FEMA and the states for the hurricane season plan for some time now, and you'll see the details of that. But at the same time, he's working with the council to see how effective those 18,000 employees a large majority of which are located in a building in downtown Washington, D.C., a large majority of which were hired in the last 3 years to work on things, for example, like the new shelter and service program. Now, you heard the discussion as to whether or not FEMA invested the taxpayers' money in housing illegal immigrants. Oh, no, the Democrats will say that never happened. Yes, it did. Now, what they did when they were in control of Congress, they cut out a $800 million to $1 billion, depending on the numbers that you look like. Let's just use $800 million and put it in a fund called the Shelter and Service Program. And then they spent it on housing illegal immigrants. It's still part of FEMA. Their argument is, it's not part of the disaster recovery funding. You just put it in a different bucket. You pour money into it, and then you go house illegal immigrants, perhaps in the Roosevelt Hotel in downtown New York. These are the things that the president and now the acting director, and by the way, Secretary Christy Nome, who is my chairman, are disturbed about. Could that money have been spent better actually serving people whose homes have been destroyed, whose lives have been totally upended, and are expecting their government to work in unison with the state government and doing a better job of serving their needs? If I could, Richard, let me just talk for a moment about the membership of this council. Again, the president created the council in January of this year, and he put in charge Secretary Christy Nome. I spoke with her again yesterday. I've known Secretary Nome when she was governor of South Dakota. We worked together there in the Republican Governors Association, and I helped along the way as I could as she was becoming a young governor and helping mentor her along the way. So she is helping lead this effort and co-chair of the council along with Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth. A lot of people may not, some of us remember when all of this began as the civil defense back in the 1950s. And what civil defense was about was, what if we have a thermonuclear device that it goes off in the United States? What if the Russians attack? This was the Cold War strategy of, we need someone that then help organize a response to that. How do we get you to the shelters? In my days, we would duck and cover under the desk. So like that was going to protect you from a thermonuclear device. But that is a reason that Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is certainly part of this. There is unfortunately a reality that we have to face, and if something of a military event does occur, is how does FEMA respond to that? So Secretary Hegseth, Secretary Nome, Governor Greg Abbott of Texas, they do a remarkable job. Texas and Florida are the two high water marks for emergency response. Right after that is the state of Mississippi, because we had to learn how to respond to emergencies. So Jane Castor, the mayor of the city of Tampa, all of this goes to the locals. The first 72 hours will be their responsibility. They're at the point of the spear. They're her police, her fire department, sheriff's department. So we've got the sheriff of Miami-Dade, Florida, Rosie Cordero Stutz. I met Sheriff Stutz at our first meeting in Washington. What an amazing lady. If you can imagine her being a lifelong law enforcement officer, now sheriff of Miami-Dade County. Kevin Guthrie, who's the executive director of the Florida Division of Emergency Management. Kevin is probably as knowledgeable about state responses to as anyone in the United States. Nim Kidd, who's the chief of Texas Division of Emergency Management. So those two, Texas and Florida, as you see, both their the governor of Texas and his emergency responder in Florida, Michael Whatley, chairman of the Republican National Committee. The president trusts Michael and his knowledge. He's from North Carolina. He has served there and helping respond to that. Glenn Youngkin, Governor Youngkin of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Again, people sometimes forget that Washington, D.C. sits right in the state of Virginia. He is one of the brightest stars, I think, of all the governors across the United States. Glenn Youngkin has been a wonderful addition to this council. And Robert Fenton. Bob is Region 9 Administrator and two-time Acting Director of FEMA. He has that institutional knowledge that we need of the day-to-day operations. Bob came to Mississippi during Katrina. He and I first met there, and he is the core, the heartbeat of FEMA as we know it in the regions. Someone who is boots on the ground. So that's the council. Again, I'm very proud to be a part of that.
And serving as vice chair of the FEMA Review Council, visiting with former Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant. I think one of the most disturbing stories that we got last fall was in the aftermath of the hurricanes in Florida and North Carolina. We got the reports that some of the aid that was being distributed was being politicized. That there were houses where there were Trump signs in the front yard, and FEMA administrators who were acting locally were skipping over those houses and not allowing aid to go to them. I don't think it's a crazy statement to say that FEMA should be an apolitical organization. It should be about getting disaster relief to those who need it. I understand that everything we do is politicized, and you either have a Republican administration or a Democrat administration, and the people that are put in charge are going to probably fall under that political persuasion. How do we eliminate that and make sure it never happens again, where that disaster relief goes to the people that need it, regardless of who you vote for or who you support?
I think you're going to have to hold people accountable. As you saw when the president came in office and Elon Musk came in with Doge, not only we started looking at how much money was spent, but how it was spent. And it was shocking, again, illegal immigration, chasing climate change. This is the political philosophy that came into FEMA. Everything was a political dynamic. How do we help Democrats serve? How do we add more of our voters to the employee roles within FEMA? You're absolutely right. If there's anything that should be non-political, not bipartisan, non-political, it's FEMA. And that's part of the job that we have as a council, to root that out and remove it.
I know there's a lot of work to be done in the coming days, weeks, and months. Governor Phil Bryant, I appreciate your time. I wish you the best in this role as Vice Chair with FEMA Review Council. Always great to catch up with you. And thanks for your patience this morning with some technical issues.
Thank you, Richard. We'll talk again.
Look forward to that. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. We're back right after this.
She said, "Still wine, take that girl. Still wine, take that girl."
Cross, here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
What else?
And always on the SuperTalk app.
I was 3 days short of pulling out of Kingsport. I was headed down to Houston town. Had a guitar pack and a burlap sack, words flowing in my country sang.
612-794-4395. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday morning, the 29th of May. A couple of notes. Your local disaster recovery charity should be handling it. Why should I help my neighbor when I pay 20% in taxes for the government to do it? Is a thought there. A lot of those local organizations tend to be far more effective. We saw that in North Carolina. I think the shining beacon on a hill during the disaster recovery in North Carolina, especially in the mountain region, Samaritan's Purse. Right, that organization that was founded originally by Billy Graham and was headquartered in Boone, North Carolina. Their ability to react and to get aid to people who need it was far more effective than some of the work that FEMA was doing. And we move on, right? But the people in North Carolina, especially Western Carolina there in the mountainous region, have not been able to move on because their worlds were turned upside down. Mike in Columbus says make those positions elected positions. Do we want the FEMA administrator or the director of FEMA to be an elected position? I mean, I guess there's some level of accountability that's there, but it does feel like that's an organization that needs continuity in terms of leadership. And if you turn that into an elected position, you might be opening a whole nother can of worms that you don't really want to mess with. Pretty significant federal court ruling yesterday. A federal trade court ruled that President Trump did not have the authority to impose sweeping tariffs on virtually every nation, voiding the levies that have sparked a global trade war and threatened to upend the world economy. The decision yesterday came from the Court of International Trade. It blocked one of the Trump administration's most audacious assertions of executive power under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act of 1977. Shortly after the decision was handed down, lawyers for the Trump administration notified the court that they would appeal the decision. The three-judge panel wrote, the court did not read IEEPA to confer such unbounded authority and set aside challenged tariffs imposed thereunder. Trump has used the IEEPA to underpin most of his tariffs levied in the second term, from duties on Canada, Mexico, and China imposed over fentanyl smuggling to the far-reaching reciprocal tariffs that were levied in early April on virtually every U.S. trading partner. The stock market reacted favorably, as it tends to do, to news. The future under a point and a half. The Dow Jones was up over a point in Asia. The Nikkei, that's Japan stock, rose a little over a point as well. The question, though, or the big question in this is, what does this do to the trade talks that are happening? We know that Donald Trump is trying to level the playing field for the United States in terms of trade agreements with countries all over the world. And this inability to level tariffs by the president under that IEEPA or any other authority kind of changes his ability to negotiate, I would think. I mean, one of the tools that Donald Trump has used has been either a tariff or the threat of a tariff to get some of these things closer to the finish line. Currently negotiating with the European Union. Appears to be near the finish line with India in terms of getting a new trade deal. And, you know, Lance, one of the things that we've talked about with tariffs, and, you know, regardless of how you feel about tariffs, I think the position that I've had from the beginning is that this is a tool in the toolbox. It's just a tool that Donald Trump has used a lot.
Yeah, he's definitely his angle. I mean, if you take away that tool, that significant negotiating piece, what does that do? Well, I mean, it's like going out in the woods.
What does that do to your ability to negotiate?
Yeah, it's like going out in the woods with an unloaded gun. You see a big buck show up, and you go, whoa, what tools do I have here to work with this? You got to jump down and strangle it or something? So I think he's using what he believes is the most powerful negotiating tool he has. And then you kind of back down from there, right? You start at the top, you use the big bang, you use the big guns, and then you kind of work your way back down, I think.
Yeah. Congress typically holds responsibility over tariffs, but they've delegated many of those powers to the president for an extended period of time, decades even. Wednesday's ruling said it would be unconstitutional for Congress to delegate, quote, unbounded tariff power, close quote, to the president. Said an unlimited delegation of tariff authority would constitute an improper abdication of legislative power to another branch of government. Congress has placed limits in IEEPA restricting when and how a president could place levies. We're going to have to see where this goes. because I am so anxious to see what this does to negotiations with trade partners around the world, again, with the goal being make it more even, make it more level for the United States. 8 o'clock hour of Mornings with Richard Cross is coming up next.
Start your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
I just passed a Jimmy in a white. I've been a passing everything in sight. 6 days on the road, and I'm gonna make it home tonight. But it seems like a month since I kissed my baby goodbye. I could have a lot of women, but I'm not like
Welcome again. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi. Thanks for being with us as we roll into the 8 o'clock hour. Hope your day is off to a great start, whether you're headed to work, you got the day off, I don't know, whatever it is that you've got going this morning. We appreciate you joining us and spending some time with MRC. C-Spire text line is open, 601-879-4395. C-Spire, inspired by you. There is an event that is happening today in the state of Mississippi. It's the Public Safety Summit. We've got a couple of guests in to discuss that now. Tindell is Commissioner of Public Safety, and the Attorney General, Lynn Fitch, joins us both this morning. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning, Richard.
Hey, good morning, Richard. Great to see you.
Good to see you as well. Appreciate you joining me this morning. So, Commissioner Tindell, let's start with you. The Public Safety Summit. What are we doing here?
Well, this was something that we came up with. I guess this is our third annual summit, and the Attorney General and I, about 3 years ago, just started talking about the different public safety initiatives and summits that we have in our state. And, you know, the police chiefs get together, the sheriffs get together, the prosecutors get together, firefighters get together, EMS gets together, but we never bring them together in one venue for fellowship, for learning, for training, for leadership discussions, and to talk about issues that affect the entire public safety sector. So we got together, and something that we do very often is collaborate, and our teams, we got two great teams, and when they come together, they can really put together something special. And so that's what this Public Safety Summit is about. This is our third annual one, and so we've got national speakers that have come in the last 3 years to talk about leadership in public safety, to talk about recruiting in public safety, to talk about ethics in public safety, all host of issues. And then we have breakout sessions where we talk about issues affecting Mississippi public safety, legislation that might be needed, just a whole array of issues that we can cover, bringing the various public safety sectors together in Mississippi. And I think it's been a tremendous success. And if you look at our enrollment, it went from just about 200 the first year to over 500, close to 600 this year. So it really has become a major event here in central Mississippi, and one that I know I'm very proud of, and wouldn't be possible without the leadership of Attorney General Lynn Fitch and what her and her team bring to the table as well.
Thank you.
I know both of.
It's been amazing to work together, Richard, with the commissioner and his team. It's been a vision, and it's all come together. Again, having all of these law enforcement officers, first responders, prosecutors together, talking about the issues, talking about how we can be proactive. And again, so many of these sessions are cutting edge, bringing these resources and tools to our law enforcement to help them be prepared for their jobs.
Attorney General Lynn Fitch, when we last spoke, you were in Arizona. You were headed to visit the border. And one of the things that I asked you about, and I'd love for you and Commissioner Tindell to talk about this a little bit as well, the working relationship between Department of Public Safety and the Attorney General's office, because these are two entities that have to work together and work together a lot. How do you make that work, and what is that relationship like?
Well, it's been great. Certainly, Commissioner Tindell is an amazing leader. He's got a tremendous team. I am very blessed. I have an amazing team as well. And we see that as we're stronger and united, we make a lot more progress. Again, we're charged with protecting all Mississippians. We're charged with their security and their safety. So as we work together, we understand what the issues are. And we work so well, our two groups, but also with our federal partners, our other state and local partners, because as we do operations together, we see that issues that are on the horizon. What are we going to do? How are we going to be proactive? So again, it's been an amazing situation to work together. We're continuing to do that. We collaborate all the time about potential things that are happening in our state. Again, whether it's potential illegal immigrants in our state, whether it's escaped inmates in our state, whatever the case might be, certainly we address together human trafficking. That's certainly an issue that we see in the state of Mississippi, but we have embraced that and gone after these traffickers and gone after rescuing these individuals. Together, we work so closely on the fentanyl, the drugs being pushed across into our state, across the border, and they're here in 48 hours. Again, working together in every area that we can to protect all Mississippians.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you this, and I think one of the things that makes this partnership so great, and the reality is I think it's the best it's been in decades. If you look back, the Attorney General's office and the Department of Public Safety haven't always worked as well together as we've been doing, and I think it goes back to what Ronald Reagan said, and if you're not worried about taking credit for something, there's no limit as to what you can accomplish. And between these two divisions, no one's worried about taking credit. We're just worried about a safer Mississippi, whether it's human trafficking, getting fentanyl off our streets, child pornography, all these things that affect our communities and our state and the crime. We're not worried about taking credit. We just want to get the bad guys off the street, get them out of our state, and enforce the laws of the state of Mississippi. And when we do it, we do it with a servant's heart, and as does our entire team. And so I think the results speak for themselves when you look at the good things going on in our state when it comes to public safety.
In both your case, Commissioner Tindell, and Attorney General Fitch's case as well, there are a lot of people and a lot of entities that kind of fall under your umbrella. And I think when we think of state agencies, we think of them as, an umbrella for the entire state of Mississippi, but so many of the issues that we have are local issues. And I think specifically about Greenville, who is in the last few days had a couple of young people who have been shot, and we see law enforcement kind of pleading with the community, hey, we've got to do better. We've got to put an end to some of the gang issues and some of the gun violence. How do you go about helping at the local level, even though you're not necessarily on the ground every single day in every single local community?
Well, certainly we're working together with our local partners. We see that as an issue. There are far too many of our young people that are engaged in crime that lose their lives, that have been recruited by these gangs. In fact, that's one of our topics today. Again, how we can rally together. We have the FBI SAC, Rob Efcock, and he's going to be talking about that today. Unfortunately, we have entirely too many gangs in our state and our country. But again, how do we address that from a state level? How do we support our local law enforcement again, and how do we eradicate these gangs? Again, too many lives are lost. We see too many young people. We've got to stop and help them get their lives back on track. We certainly don't want to continue to see them. But these gangs recruit, and these young people feel that they are caught and they have no way out. And so, again, we've got to help change the culture of the communities and, again, help these young people as they are moving forward in their lives.
And if you look at the initiatives and the task force that the Attorney General Office has led and been a part of, just like the Department of Public Safety has led or been a part of, one of the things Governor Reeves asked that I do is reach out to local departments and foster those relationships. So I know, we go to the Chiefs Association meeting, we go to the Sheriff's Association meeting, we talk about the things that we need and they need, and then we develop those relationships so that if they have a problem going on, then we can send resources there, and along with the Attorney General and the federal government agencies, FBI, ATF, DEA, and we can all work together on these task force models. And if you think about Operation Unified in Jackson, of which both our agencies were a part of, that took the federal law enforcement agencies, the local law enforcement agencies, Hinds County SO, and the city of Jackson, as well as Pearl and others were involved, and our state law enforcement agencies. And the number of drugs and illegal firearms and other things that we got off our street trying to attack these gangs, it makes a big difference. And just last week, Colonel Keith Davis met with Chief Wade over at JPD. They said, hey, we want to do a saturation this weekend. And we had law enforcement everywhere within the city of Jackson working together. There was no major crimes that night. There was no murders. And that was a big deal. But it shows you what happens when we work together and we can saturate an area and go after the bad guys.
With Commissioner Tindell and General Lynn Fitch, the Public Safety Summit, third annual happening. We're going to continue the conversation on the other side of the break. The specific topics. How do you avoid making some gathering? All in conferences where we walk away, we're like, well, that was a waste of time. That would have been a whole lot better in the office as opposed to sitting around a boardroom. How do you avoid that? And then also a little bit more about how significant gang activity is in the state of Mississippi. We know that it's something that has been glorified in pop culture, whether you're talking about red bandanas or blue bandanas or more recently Tren de Aragua and MS-13. How significant is it in Mississippi, and what is happening specifically to control and try to eradicate some of those issues? We'll get to all of that. I think that's a lot on the other side of this break. It's Mornings with Richard Cross. Sean Tindell, Lynn Fitch are my guests. We're on Super Talk Mississippi. We're back with you right after this.
From Sumner to Summit to Summerall, Richard has something for you. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
She traveled all around, all across this country. Met a lot of people, made a lot of friends. She got the feeling of the swamp playing running through blood. She going back home, but she don't know when.
Welcome again to Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. We're glad to be with you. Commissioner Sean Tindell from the Department of Public Safety and Attorney General Lynn Fitch are my guests this morning. We've got the Public Safety Summit that is happening today in central Mississippi, and I laid it out there before the break. We've all been to, or most of us have been to conferences where you're like, what a waste of time that was. Gotten so much more done just by being in the office. How do you avoid that being the case for an event this large where you're bringing in public safety officials from all over the state of Mississippi, you're bringing speakers in from all over the country to make sure that this is not something where people walk away and go, I wish I just stayed at work, and instead they walk away with, okay, that was absolutely worth my time, and I've got some action items that I'm taking home with me.
Well, we've been very fortunate. Our teams have worked together, and we have been able to secure nationally renowned speakers, and they are on topics that are very important to all of our law enforcement. So it's always a great takeaway, and we've continued to build on that year after year. I mean, again, topics this year, again, as you mentioned earlier, gangs, and we'll get into that in specifics. But again, the criminals are smart. We'll have one of our speakers actually do a 3D printer of a gun to see how these guns are made and how these criminals are putting those out on the street. We'll continue to talk about, our participation with 287G and what we're all doing together. And we also provide information where they get continuing education credits too. So that's important for all of our law enforcement and our first responders and our prosecutors to have their education units provided as well. But I tell you, the greatest thing, and the commissioner and I talk about this a lot, when you bring this many people together, it's always a charge to each of them. It's about networking. You need to know each other. You need to trust each other. And then when we do these operations, you've met each other, you've spent a couple of days together, you pick up the phone and you say, hey, I've got an issue here, this sheriff can help there, or this police chief, bringing all of us in, our state, federal, local partners, because we've all met each other, you know each other, you trust each other, and that is a game changer in law enforcement for all of us.
100%. And I tell you, the other thing that we do after this is over, and we've done this the last 2 years, and we'll do it again this year, we send out surveys to the attendees, and we listen to them, and you know, what did you enjoy? What did you find useful? What can we do more of? What can we do less of? And so we listen to the participants so that they're engaged, and when they come back next year, they see that we did listen, and we might have more time for this or that, and so that's been a big part of it. And we also recognize those that have gone above and beyond. Today we'll have our awards luncheon where we recognize the prosecutor of the year, the first responder of the year, the law enforcement officer of the year, the firefighter of the year, and so we recognize those in our state that have gone above and beyond at this as well, and so that awards presentation is always very touching when you hear about a law enforcement officer that might have done something that saved the lives of others and put himself at risk. And so, you know, I think when we do those things, it makes it a very intriguing conference and one in which folks want to come back to, and again, our teams do such a great job, and then just trying to think of the issues that are on the forefront for public safety and make sure that those get talked about and addressed. I know yesterday we had somebody, a professor from Southern Miss came in and talked to us about recruiting and some of the issues that we face in the public safety sector, trying to get the next generation of first responders into these professions, and had some great insight. And I'm sure that everybody that attended that will go back and talk to their recruiting teams and saying, hey, these are some of the things that we need to do. I've got these notes, I have his contact, and he's willing to talk to us about ways we can improve recruiting for our public safety agencies.
And that is certainly key for us.
One of the things that, well, one of the things that both of you have talked about is collaboration, right? Joint task force, multiple agencies working together. Law enforcement, and I don't know if this is just like in books or movies or it's actually real life, but there always have been these turf wars. You've got all these different acronyms, you know, FBI, CIA, DEA, ATF, you know, MBI, local sheriffs, local police department, and everybody's supposed to work together. But you've got this guy going, no, not in my county. You know, this is going to be my investigation, or a state agency or a federal agency that steps in. I feel like we're seeing less of that. Is that accurate, one? And two, how have you gotten to the point where these groups are working well together?
Again, you know, I go back to what Ronald Reagan said. If you're not worried about taking credit, there's no limit to what you can accomplish. And so
but a lot of people are worried about taking credit.
Well, they are, and that's not my style of leadership, and that's not the general style of leadership either. And so I think when you've got leaders who are more focused on the results and less about themselves, that's what you get. And so hopefully that'll stay that way with the future of the Department of Public Safety and the Attorney General's office. And you know, we're here, we're going to leave our mark, and I think the reason why you're seeing the successes that you see is that that's our style of leadership, and we try to push that down to our folks. And I can tell you that there's buy-in. It took some time. When I first started going to the Chiefs Association and the Sheriff's Association, I mean, I got an earful about a lot of different things, and they didn't think I'd be back the next year, and I was. And it wasn't, you know, it was because I was trying to bring down those walls and let them know that I'm here to help y'all. I want your communities to be safe because those are my communities. You know, I live on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. I want those communities to be safe. Anything we can do from the Department of Public Safety standpoint to accomplish that, that's what I want. I have nieces and nephews at school at Oxford and Starkville, and I want those communities to be safe. Anything the chiefs up there need or the sheriffs in Tippah County need, we're going to be there to do it because I want them to be safe. And so, again, I know the general style of leadership in mine, or we're not worried about that. Taking credit. There's enough credit to go around for everybody, and we're going to make everybody look good, and we're going to work together.
And the commissioner's right. We don't operate like that. It's about who did we protect today? How did we make our community safer? How do we engage all the different law enforcement across our state? And so that has been our number one goal. And as the commissioner said, we've worked very diligently, and the results are out there. When we do operations, when we have issues that come up, we both in our agencies try to provide all the resources, the tools that we can for all of our law enforcement, particularly if you're in a small area. What can you do? How can we help you? Forensics, whatever the case might be. And so we've really stepped into that, and we want to continue to be empowering to all of our law enforcement. We do have a number of task force, and we both are always asking, please participate. We need you in the fentanyl strike task force. We need you when we do an operation in your area. If it's a human trafficking issue, the commissioner and our team's been very, very out there on participate on human trafficking task force, learn about it, get certified in that. So again, it's going to happen in your area, and if you're versed on it and you can participate, you're going to help save that individual, and you're going to help take down that predator. Cyber, we all know cyber is an issue. Every crime has a cyber element. We certainly all have the cyber fraud task force working together, asking them to come learn, be trained on cyber, because somehow, some way, you're going to have criminal elements in your communities that involve cyber. And then the commissioner mentioned it earlier, children, the child exploitation, the internet crimes against our children is unbelievable. And we have to all be ready. We have to be looking for that. We have to find those children. We have to rescue those children, and we have to stop that exploitation. And the only way we address any of these issues is that we do them together. We see that we work stronger, harder, and better when we work together.
Only a couple of minutes left. We do not have a major metropolitan area in Mississippi, and a lot of times we think about major metropolitan areas as hubs of gang activity, but we know that gang activity exists in the state of Mississippi. How prevalent is it? Where is it? Is it everywhere? Maybe is the bigger question.
It's in a lot of our communities, and it's not the gangs that you think of in the 90s, the Bloods, the Crips, and that kind of stuff. It's a lot of these smaller neighborhood gangs that you're seeing. We met with the, Director Icall for the FBI for the state of Mississippi, and he, one of the things that their intel is showing and that we knew is you have over 200 small gangs throughout Mississippi. These are neighborhood gangs, and they're loosely affiliated with other gangs, but it's not like it was back in the day where you had two major gangs that people were joining. These are small neighborhood gangs that a lot of times are made up of teenagers, very young, who have been neglected for most of their life, and they're very dangerous. I was talking to a DA on the coast, and they said, if you're going to get robbed, you want to get robbed by a 40-year-old. He just wants to take your money. But these teenagers that have grown up in this world, they'll kill you and not think anything of it. And so it's very dangerous. And it's a very big problem that we can't just use law enforcement to get out of. There's a lot of social service issues that have to be addressed when we talk about these young offenders.
We're out of time. Do you guys have time to hang for one more segment, or do you need to go? I know the summit's starting in just a little while, so if you need to go, say so.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
I would love for us to dig just a little bit deeper on the gang conversation in Mississippi. Where is this coming from? These neighborhood gangs. Is it because of what they have seen and heard, or is it just something that's spawning organically, which seems unlikely? It's Mornings with Richard Cross. Sean Tindell, Lynn Fitch, Commissioner of Public Safety, and Attorney General are my guests. Back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Super. Morning, partner. The sun is up, the coffee is on, and you're starting your day right. Mornings with Richard Cross here on Super Talk, Mississippi.
I suppose we've done this enough by now that both Commissioner Tindell and Attorney General Fitch know that I ask for more time. It really is okay for you guys sometimes to say, I'm sorry, we've actually got to go. We've got work to do, but I do appreciate the time. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. I just wanted to drill down a little farther on this gang activity conversation because what you were explaining a second ago, Commissioner Tindell, is honestly kind of new information to me, and I've got to believe that a lot of our listeners feel the same way. You said neighborhood gangs are the prevalent gang culture in Mississippi, and that you've identified as many as 200 of those across the state. Did I get that right?
That's right. And it's and again, these are street level gangs. These are neighborhood gangs, and they're young individuals that have fallen to this lifestyle. There was a recent video that was circulating on YouTube, and it was somebody that was doing documentaries, and it was covering different gangs across the country, but came to Mississippi and was in Jackson, but was also in one of the smaller communities in Mississippi where we had these gangs, and they affiliate, they run together, they commit crimes, and they're very dangerous. And there's, like I said, a lot of issues there that are going on. You've got generational separation where you don't have parents together, and these kids are growing up being raised not only by young mothers but young grandmothers, and so 30 or 40 years of some of these failed I think experiments that we've had that have broken down the family dynamic have resulted in a lot of these things. And so it's a very complicated issue that, again, I don't think we can just take law enforcement and use it as the only way to find ourselves out of this situation. We have to create environments where these young people see a better future, an opportunity for themselves to go on and do things that make them productive citizens. And so right now, they don't have that, and it's a very, very tough thing to do. And I don't think it's just something that we're dealing with in Mississippi. This is a nationwide issue that really needs to be addressed, but it certainly impacts us in this state when we look at gun violence. And all you have to do is look in the paper. You talked about Greenville. We talk about Jackson. Yeah. I mean, I see it in Gulfport. Multiple teenagers that are being affected by gun violence.
General Fitch, when one of the things that we've seen, and I mean, many of us have watched these shows, but on Netflix in particular, you've seen multiple series that kind of glorify the drug lords, what's the word I'm looking for? The cartels. Sorry, drug cartels. And kind of whether it's the Sinaloa cartel or what's going on in Colombia or South Florida in the late 70s and early 80s, and they kind of make that a sexy thing because you see the glamour and the money and everything that goes along with it. Is that part of what is encouraging some of what you're seeing in terms of local gang activity? Like there's this idea that it's fame and fortune and fast cars and big guns and all of that stuff without maybe really recognizing the human capital toll?
Oh, absolutely. It is a recruiting tool, and it does glorify that type of lifestyle. And you see these young teenagers say, oh, that's what I want to do. I want to have the guns. I want to have the money. I want to have the opportunity to, throw cash around, be big in my neighborhood. And it's a draw-in for them, unfortunately. And then, as the commissioner said, here in Mississippi, we have over 200 gangs, and so many of them, or the bulk of them, are the neighborhood gangs. So when you get these young people and now they see this fantasy that's been drawn in, like some of the documentaries, the shows, and they think, oh, we can do this too in our neighborhood gang, and so they are easily recruited. Unfortunately, the direction is not there by any parents or any guidance, and so they run at their pace that, again, puts them in predicaments, and then very quickly they're in the criminal element. And so then you see time and time again so many lives that are lost that should never have happened with these young people. And so for all of us, we really do have to take a holistic approach and say, how do we help these children? How do we change them back into the lifestyle where they are children, where they are getting direction and guidance, and bring everybody together? What do we do to help them in their school participation? So many of them give up on their schooling, and we lose them there because now they have a lot of free time and they're out there being leveraged in these gangs. Last year, we had a bill that we all worked on to allow us to have harsher prosecutions for older gang members that recruited these young people, because they get them in and then they have all these different tasks that they must accomplish to be a true gang member. And you see the robberies, the car thefts, the murders. And that's all part of it. And we've got to stop that. We've got to get ahead of that here in our state and in our communities. But we do it again together as we look at where the areas of concern are. How do we bring people in? How do we bring different communities together? Because everybody has to be taking a part and has a role in stopping this.
And I think about my own agency and like Colonel Charles Haynes, who grew up in Jackson and is very familiar with some of these different gangs, and then having somebody like that in a position as colonel of the Mississippi Highway Patrol, that they can see that there's a better life, there's a different life, and these are the paths that they have to take to get there. And I think the more shining examples that we have like that, and especially people that come from those neighborhoods that have gone and do good things, that they can reach back to these neighborhoods. I think it gives that light for these kids to find a different way, and I think it's a term they use, getting off the porch, and we need to make sure they stay on the porch, and if they get off the porch, they know they're going into that gang lifestyle, and so I think someone like Colonel Haynes and others that have again found success in business or found success in law enforcement or in government or other avenues can be the shining light for these kids, and they need it. Again, they're coming from some of the most neglected homes you could imagine.
And we do need to have the champions for these children, that they know that they can be successful. And so many times they're just looking for someone that believes in them and gives them hope and gives them that insight for a better pathway.
And look, if we wait till they're 13, we've waited too long. The ship has, I hate to say, sailed, but at that point, we've waited too long. These programs have to start early. In our juvenile justice system, there's a lot of improvement that we have to do. I was a prosecutor 20 years ago for the youth court in Harrison County. We had over 400 bed space for juvenile delinquents. We're down to about 40 across the state right now. And that's just not enough to house juvenile delinquents. Now, we have some local facilities, but they can only keep them for I think, up to 90 days in those facilities. And we've really got to address the juvenile delinquents that we have and what we do with the really, really bad ones, the ones that we're scared of.
And Sean, what you just said was kind of sobering to me. I don't think I'm naive. I mean, maybe I am, but I don't think I am. I've got a 12-year-old son. And in a lot of ways, even though he's growing up, he's still a little boy. And 12 is not 13. It's 13 too late. That is a really scary thing for a lot of parents across the state of Mississippi to hear.
Sure, and it should be, and it is. And look, I've got a 17-year-old, 15-year-old, 14-year-old, and a 10-year-old. And my 14-year-olds are a lot different than some of these other 14-year-olds that have grown up a little harder. And so, sure. Again, it's a reality, but it's something we've all got to work together to solve. And again, I go back to we're not going to just use law enforcement to get ourselves out of this.
And we have to continue to share best practices and look at different ways that different law enforcement, different groups are being successful. Sheriff Tuggle in DeSoto County, he and his team have an amazing presence in the schools. And that's been a game changer to be in those schools, talking about the future for these children, giving them that hope, that excitement, that they can be whatever they would like to be and not be afraid or anticipating issues with law enforcement, but to see that law enforcement is there to help them, to empower them.
That's right. And Sheriff Tuggle's a great example of somebody that the power of inspiration that somebody like him can bring. And again, Colonel Haynes and others, we need more of that. And that's what these young individuals need to see. And we've got to get to them very young.
I thank you both for your time. The Public Safety Summit is happening in Central Mississippi. We've been visiting with Commissioner of the Department of Public Safety, Sean Tindell, and Attorney General Lynn Fitch. General Fitch, I feel like I have to ask you this on the way out the door. Your office announced yesterday that it was investigating allegations of votes being bought in Gulfport. Is there anything that you can tell us about that investigation?
Well, I cannot. The letter was pretty succinct. It is an active investigation for us, Richard, but anytime those issues arise, we're certainly going to take a hard look at those.
All right. I thank you for that. Attorney General Lynn Fitch, Commissioner Sean Tindell from the Department of Public Safety, thank you so much, both, for your time. I wish for a great conference today and a lot of good to come from it.
Right. Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Richard.
We will put a bow on this edition of Mornings with Richard Cross. I will say to you again, thank you for your patience. I know that we have had some technical issues and some distortion on my end a little bit. It's not because we didn't try and we didn't prepare, but sometimes that just happens the way it is. So thanks for bearing with us. We're going to wrap things up when we come back with you. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. We're back to wrap it up right after this.
From the Venable.
No matter where you're from, Abbeville, Batesville, DeIberville, or any other ville in the SIP, you're starting your day off right. Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
I was a dam builder across a river deep and wide, where steel and water did collide. A place called Boulder on the wild Colorado. I slipped and fell into the wet concrete below.
One last time with you on this Thursday morning. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi alongside Lance Tolbert. My thanks to Commissioner Sean Tindell from the Department of Public Safety and Attorney General Lynn Fitch. Also, former Governor Phil Bryant, who joined us earlier this morning. You may have first heard about this story yesterday when we talked about it in the 7 o'clock hour, but a press conference yesterday afternoon in Gulfport in front of the police department brought a little more access information to the story. Allegations of vote buying and illegal campaign activity arose over the weekend in the race for Gulfport's next mayor. And now, and Barnes, the Democrat candidate for mayor in Gulfport, that her office has opened an investigation into the complaints, saying that her office, the Attorney General's office, quote, has reason to believe that you and the committee to elect Sonia Williams Barnes may have committed violations of state campaign finance laws. Vote and Vibe Day Party was one of the issues. It was a meetup in which people would vote at City Hall at 10 a.m. this past Saturday morning. They received a wristband that would entitle them to a free meal at, which restaurant was it? I don't know. It doesn't matter the restaurant. I guess Levin is the name of the restaurant was there. And prior to that, there was the Souls to Polls food voucher in which you received, after you voted, a ticket that said voted on it, had a barcode there, and would allow you to get a special prepared meal at Ms. Audrey's Southern Kitchen. And there were signs at Miss Audrey's that showed you that you could indeed redeem that voucher there. So Mike Hurst, the chairman of the Republican Party in Mississippi, said he cited code section and said that individuals were directly and blatantly violating code section 25-15-889 that says it should be unlawful for any person to offer money or anything of substantial value to anyone for his punishable by fines between $50 and $500 and in prison for not more than 6 months. Now, and she said that they've been involved in grassroots campaign efforts and they were getting the vote out, and this was a scare tactic from Republicans. We'll see where this goes. The letter that the Attorney General's office sent to the Barnes campaign said the office has a reason to believe that you, the committee to elect Sonia Williams Barnes, may violate state campaign finance laws and related crimes. We've opened an investigation into this matter. The investigation originated from complaints filed with this office about the distribution of meal vouchers to voters at Gulfport City Hall. We'd like to discuss the matter with you. And remember that the destruction, alteration, or withholding of any record or document required to be produced by grand jury subpoena constitutes a violation of law, including but not limited to obstruction of justice. Just when we thought the race in Gulfport, Lance, couldn't get any more interesting, here you go.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it never fails, does it? There's always something going on. I mean, and we talked about this a couple of days ago, too. It just sounded odd, offering free meals. And, I mean, it's a pay-for-play type of thing. And, it just, yeah. I mean, why would you...
Wait, is this voter NIL?
Yeah. That's what I'd call it. I mean, I mean, it is. I mean, it's pay-for-play. And, I mean, is it really that hard for people to pick a candidate and go vote for them? I mean, do you need the free meals and busing and all this junk? Why can't people just go vote for who they, in their conscience and heart, believe in without being bought and paid for? But, that's just my little rant.
Mike Hurst, the chair of the Republican Party, former U.S. attorney, said that Harrison County District Attorney Crosby Parker and Attorney General Lynn Fitch, he was pleading to them to, quote, put a stop to individuals who are attempting to buy votes in elections and restore order to code around our state. Went on to say, in order to properly secure the vote, we'll do all we can to enforce our state laws and ensure that those who violate our laws, especially through corruption, vote buying, and other election fraud, are brought to justice and integrity is restored.
Hey, I got to say thank you to Max. You got to say thank you to Max Headroom for hanging out with us today. And I wanted to give him a shout out. You remember him? First digital presenter.
Thanks, all this space up above my head. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, it's just that sound today, and we've had a couple of listeners.
Thanks for hanging with us this morning. Yeah, Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. Don't miss In a Mississippi Minute. You got Gerard coming up at 10. Okay, John Boys, SuperTalk Mississippi. Series starts today. Regional play starts tomorrow. A lot of football news as well. Have a great Thursday, Lance. I'm Richard. This is Mornings with Richard Cross.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.